Hey YouTubers, it's Dean here on the Spiritual Vegan channel. I got a book here called The Synopsis of the Four Gospels. We're going to look at whether Jesus fed fish to the 5,000 or not. Is it really clear-cut? No, it actually is not clear-cut. So, did Jesus feed fish to the 5,000? I'm going to argue that he did not, and in fact, there is some inconsistency in the book of John that shows that it's possible that he didn't distribute the fish to the people. We're going to use this synopsis of the four Gospels. This shows all four Gospels side by side throughout, and you can compare consistencies and inconsistencies, and also the fact that some Gospels have a certain story and others don't. The Gospel of John is very interesting in this case. They all covered the feeding of 5,000. Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them. Okay, now I'm just going to skip ahead. And when they had eaten their fill, he told his disciples, "Gather up the fragments left over, that nothing may be lost." So they gathered them up and filled 12 baskets with fragments from the 5 barley loaves that were left by those who had eaten. I skipped one verse, and there's a reason why. Everything is consistent, right? Jesus took the loaves, he blessed them, and he distributed them. So they gathered up the 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves. Okay, so very consistent. And go back a little bit more. We're going to go right to the beginning of the story. Jesus said to Philip, his disciple, who is probably the local, this is probably why he talked to him, he said, "How are we to buy bread so that these people may eat?" He didn't say anything about fish, right? Philip answered, "Well, it would take a ton of money to do that." And then another disciple said, "There is this lad here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, but what are they among so many?" And Jesus said to sit down. See, it's all very consistent until you add one line. And here's the one line where the consistency falls apart. The line is, "So also the fish as much as they wanted." That's 9 or 10 words. Okay, added in there, it throws everything off because it talks about Jesus saying, "Get bread," Jesus saying, "Sit down," Jesus blessing the bread, and they collect up, and there's only bread leftovers. And then all of a sudden there's a little mention of fish. Now that fish, to me, sounds like somebody looked back at the beginning of the story and said, the author must have missed this. It says that the boy had loaves and fishes. Why didn't they have the fishes in there? I think I'll just add that in. It'll be my little contribution to the book of John. And then it got copied and copied and copied. So all they did was add that, those 9 little words saying, "And so also the fish," implying that Jesus also blessed the fish. But in the end there's no leftover fish. In the beginning, Jesus says nothing about giving people fish or asking his disciples to get fish. You know, most of the Gospels say that Jesus was not the one to feed them. He was asked to feed them by the disciples in one of the Gospels. The disciples said, "You know, Jesus, these people are hungry. You should send them home to get some food." But Jesus was not the one who initiated that. He said, "No, you get them food. You go get bread." And whenever he mentioned to get food, it was about bread. So anyways, go have a look yourselves. Compare the 4 different accounts of feeding the 5,000. In Mark, it's chapter 6, starting in verse 32. In Luke, it's chapter 9, starting in verse 10. In John, it's chapter 6, starting on verse 1. And in Matthew, it's chapter 14, starting on verse 13. Check it out. It's not clear-cut. According to the book of John, if my argument is correct, the fish did not even get distributed. He wasn't interested in distributing the fish. He distributed the bread, and his original intention was for his disciples to take care of feeding him in the first place. He was, what's the word? Delegating. What do you think? Leave a comment below. I'm very interested to discuss this. Certainly it was an eye-opener for me. I hope it was an eye-opener for you. And I don't know why I keep squeezing my ear. I notice now when I watch my videos, I have the little mannerisms that are kind of strange. One is like, I constantly like touch my face, like, you know. You ever seen that tennis guy? I don't know what his name is. Every time before his game, he's like combing he's bouncing the ball. He combs his eyebrows. You know, he's combing his hair, his chin hair. Everything is just. Then he's ready to go. I guess I'm a little like that. I gotta stop it. Gotta stop touching my face. It's driving me crazy. See you guys.